Welcome, everyone. I hope you can hear me. If you can't, let us know in the chat. Welcome. I'm Sarah Cohat. I'm a board member with the Seattle Public Library Foundation. I am very excited to have you all here today for Lunch with the Publisher featuring Liz Camfiord of Penguin Random House. But first, I'd like to thank all of our library supporters, donors, advocates, volunteers, board members, board alumni, for all of your support of the foundation and the library. I can't even tell you how much it means to us. Quick recognition, the Seattle Public Library is on Indigenous land. These are traditional lands of the Duwamish people. And now, the part you were all waiting for, housekeeping items. Everyone is muted to start. You'll have a chance to ask questions in a bit. If you need any technical assistance, including with captions, please use the chat box and a member of our team will assist you. And please put your questions in the chat box. Okay, that's housekeeping. You guys know how to do the rest. I am very excited to introduce our featured guest today, Liz Camfiord. Liz has worked at Penguin Random House for more than 25 years and has generously joined us throughout the years to highlight amazing new books hitting the shelves soon. I will tell you right now, get those pens and pencils ready, because having attended before, you will definitely be making a list of all the books you want to read as Liz goes through. So Liz, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and everybody who invited me. I'm really excited to talk about quite a range of titles for you. Happy summer. We'll be talking mostly about summer books and then a sneak peek at fall titles. So let me share my screen. So we call this presentation Borrow, Read, Repeat, which is our patron-facing newsletter and blog and program at Penguin Random House to let patrons know about the wonderful books that are coming out. And first, I wanted to tell you, if you're not familiar with the Library Reads list, these are the top 10 books publishing every month that are voted on as favorites by librarians across the country. So it's just a wonderful site to visit, libraryreads.org, and to see the top 10 titles that all the librarians are talking about and that are highly anticipated favorites in your library. So of course, holds lists, yes, but if you get there early and if you visit Library Reads early, you can be in the know. And these are just 6 of the 10 titles. Penguin Random House often has a good representation on the Library Reads list. So for July, we have these wonderful novels. I'll be talking about several of them in more detail in my presentation, but just to call your quick attention to Nalini Singh. She's a New Zealand author with lots of wonderful romance and paranormal romance novels, and this is her next paranormal romance. It's in the Psy Changeling Trinity series, and the series focuses on a race of gifted psychics struggling for survival. And then there at the bottom row is Julie Garwood's next novel, brand new contemporary romantic suspense. It features the beloved Buchanan family and a Navy SEAL bodyguard. This is set in Boston and the Scottish Highlands, which is a really popular setting for romances. And then really special is A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. This is a perfect read for Jane Austen fans, or if you're hooked on Bridgerton. It's a clever Regency romance. It's a debut novel, and it follows an unconventional heroine who throws herself into the London season to find a wealthy husband and save her family. So really fun book, great writing. And the First Look Book Club is another thing you can join and look into. This is a virtual book club. It is a chapter a day for 5 days of a brand new release that comes to your email if you sign up. And you'll also get to know Suzanne Beecher, who is the book club leader, and she shares recipes and stories, and she's really a wonderful leader for the book club. And this tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, it has been running, will run next week. And so you can sign up now and get a chapter a day for 5 days. By the end of the week, you usually know whether or not you want to keep on with the novels. Sometimes you cut out early, but we try very hard to select books that we know will be really popular and you'll want to go check out from the library. We have digital resources. If you have a book club, if you want to, again, sample some new books coming out, especially in genres, the new one we have right now is the romance sampler, but also we do debut fiction samplers. We have a summer reading sampler up. I will send a wrap up, but you can visit Penguin Random House Library and you can have access to these digital samplers, and they're really fun excerpts and different links that you can follow to get to know more about the books and the authors. And speaking of book clubs, we always produce a book club brochure, again, with discussion questions, with links to excerpts, and our latest edition features, here are 4 of the titles that I wanted to call out that's in it. Again, visiting Penguin Random House Library, you can find a link to this, this digital book club guide. People are so often stumped about what to choose next. And this has a range of really commercial fiction, more literary fiction. So it should have recommendations that would fit your book clubs. So I wanted to talk about Iona Iverson's Rules for Commuting, which has been out a couple of months, so you may already know about it. This features Iona, who's a larger-than-life magazine advice columnist. She travels to her job in London every day. She doesn't speak to her fellow commuters. No one knows each other, but they're all very familiar. Until one day, one of the passengers, one of the fellow commuters, chokes on a grape, and another commuter, Sanjay, who is a nurse, saves him with the Heimlich maneuver. And the whole episode just brings together these disparate, eccentric characters and is a really bonding experience for them. So Claire Pooley, really popular with her first novel, The Authenticity Project, and this one also does not disappoint. So then I wanted to talk about Grown Ups, which is a Norwegian, new Norwegian novelist, new to the US, a real rising star. This features Ida, who's a 40-year-old architect, single, and she's really starting to panic because she is not married, she doesn't have children, she seems to only run into people with kids. She feels that life is passing her by. The novel is mainly set in the Norwegian countryside. She's there for her mother's 65th birthday, and she is regressing. She is fighting with her younger sister. She's flirting with her sister's husband. This is a really funny but also profound look at this character and about motherhood and sibling rivalry. And it's perfect if you like the novels of Emma Straub or the films of Greta Gerwig, then this is right up your alley. Chris Bojalian probably needs no introduction. He has so many incredible novels on his backlist. The Flight Attendant, of course, is a recent novel that was adapted to the Netflix series. I think it's on Netflix. But this is a historical novel, and it's set in 1964 on an African safari, a luxurious African safari, which turns deadly for a Hollywood starlet and her entourage. It's a historical thriller, and it's been talked about by reviewers as sort of the best combination of Hemingway and Agatha Christie. That's a great hook. True Biz is a really special novel. It was a Reese Witherspoon Hello Sunshine Book Club pick. It plunges readers into the halls of an Ohio residential school for the deaf, and it's written by a deaf educator. It's a story of sign language and lip reading, of disability and civil rights, isolation, injustice, first love and loss, and above all, the great persistence. And it's a very joyous novel. We have a sweepstakes going on right now. Again, you can go to this one you would find at borrowreadrepeat.com. Again, I will put this in our wrap-up notes, or if you want to just write down borrowreadrepeat.com, you should be able to find our sweepstakes where you can enter to win some of these books. And so I'll talk about them at length later, most of them, but I wanted to note that Mademoiselle Revolution is a story of a biracial heiress. She flees to Paris when the Haitian Revolution burns across her island home. This has historical characters like Robespierre and his mistress. The backdrop of the French Revolution tells a really fascinating story about a woman of color who was cut out of history. So based on true events, a very interesting novel. Then The Neapolitan Sisters, which kind of takes me back to like House on Mango Street. This is a much anticipated Latinx novel. It's about three very different sisters who are reunited at one of their weddings in East Los Angeles. And this author is local to me, to LA, and this is her debut novel. And so it's getting great attention. I have a few local authors and something from a local publisher, Sasquatch. The first here is this confection, The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. It's really foodie heaven. It's uplifting. The author wrote The Enlightenment of Bees, you may know. This introduces us to Lolly Blanchard, whose life only seems to give her lemons. Ha ha ha. 10 years ago, her mother died. She's since broken up with her boyfriend and given up on her dreams of owning a restaurant in England because she's working at a Seattle diner, working to keep it afloat, care for her younger sister and her grieving father. She whips up the diner's famous lemon meringue pies every morning while still pining for all that she's lost. For her 33rd birthday, however, her quirky great aunt gives her a mysterious gift. And this gift is 3 lemon drops, each of which allows her to live a single day in a life that might have been hers. So each experience helps her let go of her regrets and embrace her present. Then Sasquatch, which is a local small press who we distribute their books, and they have beautiful books and great cookbooks for sure. So this is Five Marys family style. Although the author lives in California, like I said, the press is in Seattle, so we put it in here with the local stuff. This follows up on her popular cookbook, Five Marys Ranch Raised. This reveals family life on the ranch through traditions, crafts, and meals they share together throughout the year. So the author, Mary Heffernan, and her husband left their busy life they had built in Silicon Valley to become cattle ranchers with their 4 young daughters. They're all named Mary, hence the title Five Marys. So together they own and operate these farms, their 1,800-acre ranch in the mountains of Northern California, and they raise all natural beef, pork, and lamb. So this is full of recipes and pictures and crafts, like I said, and different family traditions. It's a really infectious book. And then your very own Terry Brooks has a second novel in his all-new fantasy series. He's the legendary author behind the Shannara saga. And this is about a girl, a human girl, adapting to her place in a magical world that she's only recently discovered. And then I have some beach reads or vacation reads or just books you will surely love. So Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is opens with a quote by Emily Dickinson, that love is all there is. This indeed is a modern love story about 2 childhood friends, Sam, who was raised by an actress mother in LA's Koreatown, and Sadie, who's from a wealthy Jewish enclave in Beverly Hills. They reunite in college and they develop a video game that becomes a huge success. So they find intimacy in digital worlds that really elude them in their real lives. And their first blockbuster video game launches them to instant fame and fortune, but that comes at a price. There's betrayal, there are pitfalls of creative ambition. This spans 30 years, from Cambridge to Venice Beach. This takes on the really complex nature of identity, of disability, of success, failure, and also the redemption to be found in playing. It's also quite an homage to platonic love and the purity of this friendship. So it does for video games what Michael Chabon's The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay did for comics all those years ago. And the author, Gabrielle Zevin's novels have been translated into 39 languages. She's also written books for young readers. You may recognize her name from her previous works. Then we have Any Other Family. This is by the author of The Weird Sisters, which was a huge success a number of years ago. And it's been a while since she's had a new novel. This is set in Aspen, Colorado, and it takes on the topic of adoption. It's the story of three sets of parents who find themselves intertwined after they've adopted 4 biological siblings. And they have committed to keeping these children as connected as possible. And so in keeping with that commitment, they all go on a family vacation together. And the mothers are pulled into closer proximity than they're comfortable with. They're grappling with their roles, with getting to know each other and their new families, when they receive a call from the birth mother saying that she's pregnant again. So this throws everything into question about what is family, and it's got very lively dialogue. It's told in alternating perspectives from the 3 adoptive mothers' viewpoints. It's interspersed with adoption applications. So it's a really interesting look at that as well. And she's a beautiful writer. Taylor Jenkins Reid, her last book was Malibu Rising. We also published her previous works. Daisy Jones and the Six is about to be a movie. So she is one of our biggest, most popular writers, and Malibu Rising was just last year. So she's quite on a roll. She's a celebrity book club favorite. And this time it's set in the world of women's tennis in the 80s and 90s. It's the story of Carrie Soto. She has retired from tennis. She was the best player in the world. Her father had coached her since the age of 2, and she'd sacrificed nearly everything to become the best. 6 years after her retirement, she watches the US Open as her title is taken away from her by a stunning player named Nikki Chan. So she, in her competitive nature, comes out of retirement to try and reclaim her title. She has to swallow her pride to be trained by her former flame. So this has a love story element, of course, and both of them have something to prove. So if you like Taylor Jenkins Reid, or if you've never read her before and you love tennis, this is going to be a very pleasing novel for you. We have some great debut fiction coming out. One of my favorites is A Map for the Missing. The author lives here in Los Angeles. It's really, to me, the debut of the summer. It's both a family saga. It's also a page-turning mystery. Spans the 70s to the 1990s. It moves between China's rural provinces and also its big cities. To me, it checks all the boxes with being a gripping story, exquisite writing, and these deeply drawn relationships and this fascinating setting. So it begins with Tang Yishan, who's been living in America. He receives an urgent call from his mother saying that his father has disappeared, and from their family's rural village in China, the mother wants him to come back and help look for him. He agrees, even though they've been estranged for years. He reunites with a childhood love who he and she had both dreamed of, leaving their rural life in China and being educated and going to university. He has done that and become a math professor. But his childhood friend, his former love, became the wife of a mid-level Chinese bureaucrat. they go on this quest to find his father. And Ruth Ozeki has a great quote about it, saying this is an engrossing saga. It's between two countries, two cultures, two eras, and two loves. It's set against the violent turmoil of the Chinese Cultural Revolution, and it's a powerful debut exploring the wrenching impact of political ideologies on individual lives. Parish is a debut that really deals with trauma and intergenerational violence as a family comes together to say goodbye to their matriarch. Here, readers get this nuanced look into Black communities in Texas. It spans decades and chronicles the choices that Helen Jean, the matriarch of the Turner family, has made and how they've affected her children, grandchildren, and beyond. The alternate chapters follow 4 members of the Turner clan, and this family's reunion unearths its long-kept secrets and forces each member to ask themselves important questions about who to forgive and who to blame. Then we have Bobby Finger's The Old Place. So he has a really popular podcast called Who Weekly. And this novel is a big-hearted small-town yarn, perfect for fans of J. Ryan Stradall. It's set in Texas. It's about a retired high school teacher whose decades-old secret threatens to come to life. Our main character here is Mary Alice Roth. She's a few months into her retirement. She's bored. She does not know how to fill her days, but at least there's her friend Ellie who comes by every morning to have coffee. Their friendship had sort of waned. They had grown close years earlier. As neighbors and single mothers, but they had suffered a tragedy of each of them having lost a son, pretty much one right after the other. So they were forever linked by that tragedy, but they're reestablishing their friendship when Mary Alice's sister comes and reveals a huge secret that threatens to jeopardize everything that they're trying to rebuild. So J. Ryan Stradall says of this, has a wise and kind heart, a novel full of memorable characters, secrets, and epic family drama. Book clubs should love this debut. Oh, some of our best writers have books coming out. The Last White Man by Mohsin Hamid is a profound allegory in which this is getting multiple starred reviews. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. It's about a character who one morning wakes up to find that his skin has turned dark. His reflection in the mirror is a stranger. At first, he shares his secret only with his new lover, but soon reports of similar events begin to surface across the land, and people are awakening in new incarnations. Some are embracing these transformations as the long-dreaded overturning of an established order that must be resisted to its bitter end. And many, like our main character Anders' father and Una, his girlfriend's mother, have this profound sense of loss and unease. And so this is a love story, but it's got all of this commentary about empathy, about transcendence over bigotry, fear, and anger. And just as a side note, if you've read Exit West, or even if you haven't, that's a highly recommended title of Mohsin's. It's been picked up by the Obamas, Higher Ground Productions, for a forthcoming film starring one of my favorite actors, Riz Ahmed. And our author, Mohsin, lives in Pakistan. So he still does events, author events, virtual author events, and he's well worth listening to. So if you subscribe to our newsletters, you'll hear more about that. A.M. Holmes. I love A.M. Holmes. I discovered her when I was working at a bookstore, and I read her first short story collection, The Safety of Objects, and that was 25 plus years ago. She's written many novels, won many awards, and this new novel opens in a bar at the Phoenix Biltmore. We meet Big Guy in the wee hours just after the 2008 election. So this is a novel I recommend to take a break from the news, let her speculative novel, which is satirical, political, and really pointed family fiction that reveals a lot about the great divides in America today. And Michael Chabon says of this novel, it's gripping, sad, funny, and exceedingly well observed and well written. No doubt, she's a great writer. Jill Bielowski has her first novel. She is a celebrated poet. This is her first foray into fiction. It's an autobiographical, as far as I can tell, a story because our unnamed narrator is a poet. She's awaiting the publication of her new poetry book. She is dealing with a 20-year marriage that's become very strained. She's teaching at an all-boys prep school. Her life is just really in turmoil. She's seeking answers of life and love, and she's also really reflecting on a year-long friendship she had with a colleague who is a fellow poet struggling with his craft. And, I won't reveal too much about that, but one of the settings of this novel is the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where our character visits. She's obsessed with the Greek and Roman gods on display there. And those gods start to take on remarkably vivid lives of their own, which really force her to choose between reality and myth. This is a page turner about female sexuality, about ambition, and also a timely kind of discussion about the poles of privacy and also its appropriation in art and literature. Sweet, Soft, Plenty Rhythm is a jazz novel. It's set in 2013. Our character is Circus Palmer. He's a 40-year-old Boston-based trumpet player and an old school ladies' man, many women in his wake. Before a gig in Miami, he learns that one of his favorite women, the free-spirited drummer Maggie, has announces that she is pregnant by him. But instead of facing her, having the difficult conversation about that, he flees. And this sets off a chain of interlocking revelations. We've got a chorus of really fascinating, remarkable women in this novel, one of which is his teenage daughter, Coco. She idolizes him, even as her mentally fragile mother struggles with her rejection by Circus. So this is about music. It's about unrequited love, diverse female voices, fathers and daughters. It's really got sort of everything in it. Elizabeth Strout, I imagine many of you on this presentation today are fans of Elizabeth Strout. Her new novel can be read as a standalone, or it can also be read as a sequel because there are familiar characters here. So she won the Pulitzer Prize, and her novel prior to this, My Name is Lucy Barton, introduces Lucy to us. But as this novel opens, this is really a pandemic novel. The world has just gone into lockdown, and Lucy is uprooted from her life in Manhattan, and she's bundled away to a small town in Maine by her ex-husband, who's been a longtime friend, William, and a previous novel is Oh, William. For the next several months, it's just the two of them and their complex past together. They are nestled by this moody, swirling sea, but they won't emerge unscathed. They've been talking about a beloved daughter's suffering and also the emptiness that comes from the death of a loved one. One of the quotes in the novel is really beautiful. It goes like this: "We all live with people and places and things that we have given great weight to," Lucy says, "but we are weightless in the end." Some historical fiction, The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. This follows the immensely popular Mexican Gothic. The cast of characters here, this is set in 19th century Yucatan. The cast of characters include Carlotta Moreau, the daughter of Dr. Moreau. She's the daughter of the researcher who's either a genius or a madman. She's growing up on a luxurious estate far away from the strife of the Yucatan Peninsula. Then there's Montgomery, who's the melancholic overseer of the estate. He's an outcast who assists Dr. Moreau. And then there's the real hook of the novel, Dr. Moreau's hybrids. These are a motley group of part human, part animal monstrosities. And the fragile balance here is disturbed by the arrival of the charming and careless son of Dr. Moreau's patron, who unwittingly begins a dangerous chain reaction. So this is Gothic. It's, got a lot of wonderful elements to it. And the setting of the Yucatan Peninsula, I can't think of another book that has been set there. Then a historical Hollywood novel. This is set in the 40s. Anthony Marra, you may know, really beloved author, writer of A Constellation of Vital Phenomena. And his new book, set, as I said, in the 1940s. It's the tale of Maria Lagana, who's a brilliant woman reinventing herself as an associate producer at Mercury Pictures. She has come from Mussolini's Italy, where her father had been arrested. She has fled to LA and joins a group of European emigres. We're introduced to modernist poets who have been turned B-movie screenwriters, refugee actors, playing the very villains that they fled. As World War II rages, Maria rises through this rank of politics and divided loyalties, and the plot truly thickens when a stranger from her father's past threatens her carefully created facade. And it's an interesting picture into Hollywood in this era too. Kate Atkinson, as I said, this roster of literary authors is fantastic. The Shrines of Gaiety is from the author more recently of Life After Life, which is now a BBC series. This transports readers to London in 1926 in the wake of the Great War. This is a city that's fizzling with money, glamour, and corruption. We're introduced to an exciting cast of characters led by a 14-year-old runaway with dreams of the stage, a former army nurse fed up with duty, and then our main character, Nellie Coker, who's the rag to riches matriarch of a criminal empire. So think Succession. This is like Succession in 20s London. The title, Shrines of Gaiety, is taken from the real life obituary of the inspiration for this novel, Ma Coker. Her name was Kate Merrick. Her funeral was attended by hundreds who had worshipped at the Shrines of Gaiety that she had established. This atmosphere is heady, the clubs of Soho, rife with starlets, foreign dignitaries and gangsters, suites at the Savoy, shopping sprees. But the success has bred enemies, and beneath the dazzle of Soho's gaiety, there's a dark underbelly. And Kate Atkinson can write about anything. Some mysteries and thrillers, starting with Moonday Letters. So Moonday Letters takes on climate change. In this novel, the Earth has been reduced to a vacation destination for wealthy colonists, and the residents are exploited by them. This is part space age epistolary novel, part eco-thriller, and a love story between two individuals from very different worlds. Our author, who's Finnish, she lives in Finland still. She's been compared to Ursula K. Le Guin, and her first novel, The Memory of Water, has been translated into 21 languages. Then we have Blake Crouch's next novel. It's a genetic engineering thriller featuring Logan Ramsey, who can actually feel his brain changing and his body. He sets out to discover who did this to him, why, and this transformation threatens everything: his family, his job, even his freedom. What's most disturbing is that he learns his DNA has actually been rewritten with a genetic engineering breakthrough. And this is one that could change everything about our definitions of humanity. And the question that lies at the heart of this novel is, what if humankind's only hope for survival lies in embracing this sort of change? And which side will our main character take? By the time it's over, will he and the people he loves even recognize him? Shudder. This we don't publish a lot of novels about Native Americans. We of course have Tommy Orange, They're There, but this is going to be a really special book too. It's a supernatural crime and horror novel with coming of age elements. Our main character here, Rita, is a forensic photographer. She works for the Albuquerque police force, and her excellent photography skills have cracked many cases. She actually, the premise of this is that she sees the ghosts of crime victims. These ghosts point her towards clues that other investigators overlook. When she's hired to photograph the scene of a supposed suicide on a highway overpass, the furious, discombobulated ghost of the victim, who insists she was murdered, latches onto Rita, forcing her on a quest for revenge against the killers. So the author is a filmmaker. She has a production company called Real Indian, and so she writes from her heritage. A few nonfiction books. We're winding down here. Thank you so much for your attention. I love poetry. I always include a couple of my favorite poetry books. The Golden Axe by Rio Cortez is one of the most exciting poetry books I've read in a long time. If you don't like poetry, never fear. This really reads like narrative history in a lot of ways, with just beautiful descriptive language, and it also has pop culture references. What Rio's right about here is about her family heritage. Her ancestors had been enslaved in Louisiana. After Reconstruction, they moved to Utah, and she coins phrases for her ancestors and her family heritage as Afro pioneers, and she's writing about the American West here. It's a marvel. It's educational, it's beautiful, it tells true stories. Some of the poems are very short. It is amazing what she can do in just 60 pages. And then river poems, I just find these to be such a beautiful, refreshing escape. The Everyman Library Pocket Poets series is this beautiful little hardcover anthology series, and this will take on poems about rivers, which is such a popular poetic metaphor. We've got classic poets here. We've got contemporary poets from Shakespeare to Mary Oliver and more. The editor is a poet himself. He's also won the Oregon Book Award for his work, and so I highly recommend this as a gift as well. We had high demand for two of our most important books about racism, Dr. Ibram X. Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist and Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. We had a lot of requests, and we're meeting demand for them to be turned into parenting and young adult adaptations. So these also, if adults feel daunted about reading the adult versions, they can start here. So White Fragility's YA edition is really a reimagining of that best-selling book, and it's giving young adults the tools to ask the questions, to engage in dialogue, and challenge their ways of thinking, as does How to Raise an Anti-Racist, which is more of a parenting book, as you can see. I love this memoir, All Down Darkness Wide. It's by an up-and-coming, well, not up-and-coming, he's very well established in Ireland, but we don't know him as well here. This is his memoir about falling in love with Elias, who suffered intense mental illness. This is a beautiful book also about Catholicism, about coming out. It's about the specters of shame and an insistent search for beauty. I love what Colm Toibin, the novelist, said about it. He says, it's a beautiful, complex, and textured meditation on love, on growing up gay, on becoming a poet. I woke in the morning fully enclosed by it, as though I had been dreaming. And that's how beautiful the language is here. Solito, another really important memoir that we're publishing by a young poet. It tells the unforgettable story of Solito's harrowing 3,000-mile migration from El Salvador to the United States. He was only 9 years old. This is written from the child's perspective in the present tense. So you're really in the thick of this this journey. He wants nothing more to rush into his parents' arms, snuggle in bed with them, and live under the same roof again. He can't foresee the perilous boat trips, relentless desert treks, pointed guns, arrests, and deceptions that await him. He does not realize that 2 weeks of separation expands into 2 life-altering months alongside a group of strangers who in turn become family. A few fall picks. Stacey Abrams writes her novels under the pseudonym Selena Montgomery. You know her as a politician and an activist. She is writing here about Dr. Raleigh Foster, who's an operative for a top secret intelligence organization, asked to infiltrate a terrorist group that's stolen lethal environmental technology. She's assigned a partner, the brooding, sexy Adam Grayson, to pose as her lover. Raleigh discovers that the most dangerous risk of all is falling in love. And now the big reveal, we are now publishing Nicholas Sparks. We are going to print so many copies of Dreamland. It's a major acquisition. A bit about this story. If you're a fan of Nicholas Sparks, you will not be disappointed. It's a love story focused on Colby Mills, who's an aspiring musician whose dreams have somewhat languished. Now he's running a small family farm in North Carolina. He spontaneously takes a gig in Florida where he meets Morgan Lee. She's the daughter of affluent Chicago doctors. She's just graduated from a prestigious music college, and she wants to move to Nashville. They fall headlong in love. And then there's the parallel story of another character, Beverly, who's fleeing an abusive husband with her 6-year-old son. So the course of these 3 adult lives become unforgettably entwined, all within 1 week. Then this is something quite different and spooky. Ghost Eaters is a supernatural page turner. Our character here is Erin, who has not been able to set boundaries with her addict ex-boyfriend. She's just bailed him out of rehab again. But then he turns up dead of an overdose in their hometown of Richmond, Virginia. Erin's world falls apart. Then a friend tells her that there's a drug she could take to see the dead. She agrees to this pill-popping seance, but the drug has unfathomable side effects. And once you take it, you can never go back. Grady Hendrix said of this reads like a scared straight program that horrifies you into choosing life. Probably the biggest book that I'm talking about today is Celeste Ng's Our Missing Hearts. You probably know her from Little Fires Everywhere, from her previous novels. And this is told from the perspective of 12-year-old Bird Gardner, who's living a quiet life with his father in university housing. His father's a former linguist who now shelves books in a university's library. Librarians feature in really prominently here. In fact, Celeste just spoke at the American Library Association conference last month. In the story, for a decade, these lives have been governed by laws written to preserve, quote, American culture in the wake of years of economic instability and violence. The authorities are now allowed to relocate children of dissidents, especially those of Asian origin. And libraries have been forced to remove books seen as unpatriotic, including the work of Bird's mother, Margaret, who was a Chinese-American poet and had left the family when he was just 9 years old. He had grown up disavowing her. They never speak of her. He doesn't know her work until one day he receives a mysterious letter. It contains only a cryptic drawing, and he's pulled into a quest to find her. This journey will take him through the many folk tales that she had shared with him as a child, through the ranks of an underground network of heroic librarians, into the lives of children who've been taken, and finally ending up in New York City, where a new act of defiance may be the beginning of much needed change. Cormac McCarthy. So we're the proud publishers of Cormac McCarthy. He has a new duology beginning with The Passenger. And this opens up in Mississippi in 1980. It's 3 a.m. when our main character, Bobby Western, puts on a wetsuit, plunges off of the Coast Guard book to deal with a sunken jet and the 9 bodies that are still buckled in their seats. It's a grisly spectacle, but missing from the crash are the pilot's flight bag, the plane's black box, and the 10th passenger. So what happened? A collateral witness to this brings him into contact with men with badges, with conspiracy, with the ghost of his father, who was the inventor of the bomb that melted glass and flesh in Hiroshima. And he's also haunted by his sister, the love and ruin of his soul. So if you know Cormac McCarthy's work, if you've read The Road or All the Pretty Horses, you know that he can have these propulsive narratives while still being like so philosophical and have these existential themes. And then the finality to the final volume in the duology, Stella Maris, will be out in December. So this is a boom publication of a really spectacular work. Then lastly, I've got some audiobooks just to quickly tell you about. We've got an exclusive ebook and audiobook romance trilogy by Denise Williams. If you know her previous romances, you'll be interested in reading about these connection romances. And then below that, John Grisham, this is a new collection, his first ever of novellas. They're all set in his familiar world of the law, but his storytelling has several surprises in store. This is narrated by none other than Jeff Daniels and Ethan Hawke, by January Lavoie and John Grisham himself. Then really important work on tyranny. Timothy Snyder is a journalist and wrote this incredible novel that's now been this incredible book that's now been expanded into this audiobook edition, which includes historical detailed context for the democracy-threatening Ukrainian conflict, and it's really a call to action for modern times. It also includes the original essay collection on tyranny, and it's all read by Timothy Snyder. And then lastly, The Meat Eater's Campfire Stories, Narrow Escapes, and More Close Calls. This takes listeners from Florida to the Northern Rockies to the Arctic Ocean with true stories of survival, and really features the natural world in high relief and totally thrilling. And I've been mentioning that you can sign up for our newsletters and visit, where you will get our blog editions, which always are fun. They have contests, they have great themes, and you won't be sorry if you won't be inundated. I think they come out every couple of weeks, so it's not a daily thing. And then you can follow us on socials. I'll include these sorts of things in a wrap up. And Borrow, Read, Repeat, again, here's some just screenshots, and you can sign up by going to tinyurl.com/BRR sign up. And I thank you so much. So if there are any questions for me, I can attempt to answer. I get so involved in the books I'm talking about, it's often hard for me to switch gears and come up with answers, but I will try.
Thank you so much, Liz. Sorry, I'm having some technical unmuting difficulties, and I apologize for the noise in the background. It's a noisy day here at home.
I can't hear it.
Oh, good. That's good.
No.
I'm like, oh my God, there's vacuuming. It's crazy. Okay, so we have a couple questions. The first one is, do you have any new World War II books coming out?
World War II. Well, so Mercury Pictures Presents has a World War II element to it. That's one I can think of. I'd be happy, like I said in the wrap up, to II, because we always have new World War II books coming out. I don't know if they're talking about fiction or nonfiction. With nonfiction, we publish Ian Kershaw. I think he has a new book coming out. But I'm going to make a note, World War II collection. That's so easy for me to come up with.
Okay, and I'm going to ask the hard question. What's your favorite of the books you covered?
Well, okay, so my favorite of the books I covered is The Golden Axe. But I recognize that, like I said, not everybody reads poetry. But I will say about that remember the book Citizen and how many new readers of poetry went to Citizen. And I feel like Golden Axe is going to be that level. So that's my favorite book that I've talked about, just that I'm really engaged in now, but I'm also reading and totally loving The Celeste Ng. It's such an important book because it talks about banned books, which we are going through. We all know we're here because we love libraries and librarians, so those characters. And it's just got all these really topical threads that just are woven together it is just an easy to read book. So isn't it that rare thing to find a book that goes along quickly where you're also getting these really deep ideas? And so, yeah.
Yeah, that is a very special talent for sure. Okay, if anyone else has questions, we can try to get answers later, but we want to stick to a schedule. I thank you so much, Liz. My notebook is full of new lists to read, and I've already put them on my Goodreads list. Libraries next. We really, really appreciate
Oh,
you
my
doing
pleasure.
this
It's fun for me.
for us.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And we have a giveaway. 3
Oh, yeah.
book winners. They were chosen by random generator. I had nothing to do with this. They were texted to me. That's all I have to say. And I don't know the people who won. Okay, here are the winners. Are you ready? Eleanor Jones, Lori Palmer, and Rebecca Kastner. Congratulations. The foundation will follow up with each of you via email.
And me.
And you, yes. And you. And yeah, I mean, Liz, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. This is always such a special event. I am very excited to now have my summer readings sorted.
I'm so glad.
And we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you doing this. You're such a wonderful volunteer.